Hola a todos. Hoy vamos a echar un vistazo a las reglas de la pluralización de los sustantivos en español. Today we are going to take a look at the rules of pluralization of nouns in Spanish, okay? Now, before we get into the pluralization of nouns, it is worth noting that pluralization is closely associated with gender, right? Especially when it comes to determiners and adjectives, right? I'm actually going to include the link to the video that I did on gender because depending on there will be different rules regarding pluralization as you will see in that video. But just to review a bit, you know that the articles the definite articles are el and la. The plural equivalent or counterparts, el becomes los, la becomes las. Okay? You know, with adjectives, if it ends in o, it usually refers to the singular masculine. To make it plural, you add s. If you were talking about if you want to make that adjective feminine, we usually change the o to an a. And if you want to make it plural, meaning many, plural feminine, we add s onto the a, right? But you can check out that video to get the details, right? Today we're going to focus on the nouns, all right? So let's go. 1. Add s to nouns that end in vowels. So if a noun ends in a vowel, we add s to make it plural. So niño ends in o, it becomes niños. Of course, niño is child. Boy, little boy, rather, little boy. Niña becomes niñas. Little girl, you see that the niña ends in a. Casa becomes casas. Casa ends in a, so it becomes casas. Coche becomes coches. Coche ends in e, so it becomes coches. You just add an s. So we add s to nouns that end in vowels. All right. 2. We add es to nouns that end in consonants. So if it ends in a consonant, we add es to make it plural. All right. And casa is house, coche is car. Color becomes colores. Color becomes colors. You see it ends in R. Ley becomes leyes. Ley means law. Razón becomes razones. As you see, that ends in N. Ley ends in Y. Razones would be reasons. Reloj, which could refer to watch or clock, becomes relojes. That ends in J, so we just add es. All right. So those are the two most basic rules when it comes to the pluralization of nouns in Spanish. If it ends in a vowel, we add s, and if it ends in a consonant, we add es. Now, here's where it gets a little trickier. 3. If the noun ends in ion, then the accent over the o is removed, accent or tilde is removed, and es is added. So if we have a noun that ends in ion, and we want to make that plural, we remove the remove the tilde on the o, and we just add es, so the accent is removed. Avión, plane, becomes aviones. Nación becomes naciones. Nation. Explicación becomes explicaciones, explanations. Pasión becomes pasiones. So as you see in these cases, or in these examples, the only change that was made was that the changes that were made were that the tilde was removed from the O and ES was added. So if it ends in ION, we remove the accent on the O and add ES, okay? So that is regla número 3. Regla número 4. If the noun ends in Z, or in Spanish, zeta, ES is added, but the Z changes to C. So this is important. When we have a noun that ends in Z, we change that Z to C and add ES, right? So lápiz, pencil, becomes lápices, and you keep the accent. So if there was an accent, you keep that accent. Pez becomes peces. Pez meaning fish. And this would refer to the fish that pez would refer to a fish that is alive. Okay? You know, when we're talking about food, we use pescado. So pez, peces. Luz, light, becomes luces. And cruz becomes cruces. Cross, right? Crosses, right? So if it ends in Z, we change the Z to C and we add ES, right? 5, nouns that end in S or X in an unstressed syllable, the plural form remains the same as the singular. Okay. So if we have a word, a noun that ends in S or X, and there is no tilde at the end of that word, then the plural form will be the same as the singular form. How do we make the pardon? How do we make the difference? The article. Okay? So in words like lunes, we don't say, if we want to say on perdón de nuevo. If we want to say on, el lunes would be on Monday, singular. But if we want to say on Mondays, we don't say los luneses. We say los lunes. So the only thing we change is the article. That will make the difference. So the article is going to be the mark of pluralization, right? We don't change anything to the noun. The article will make the difference, right? So los lunes. El virus, los virus, not los viruses, no, los virus. Lunes, Monday, virus, virus, right? El thorax, oh, I misconstrued my R, right? El thorax, los thorax, so this is thorax, this is a part of the body, and in English, there are two acceptable forms when it comes to the plural. You can say thoraxes or thoraces, right? Thoraxes or thoraces. See, it's so cool. You see how cool language learning is? You learn about other languages while you're studying a foreign language, right? But yeah, just by the way. And el análisis becomes los análisis, right? You see, in the syllable, in the final syllable, there is no tilde. Therefore, we do not change the ending. We use the same form, but we just change the article to make it plural, right? And of course, analysis would be analyses in English, the plural form. Now, if we have a stress, if we have a word that ends in, a noun that ends in S, but it is part of a stressed syllable, then we add es to that ending. For example, interés, interest. We say intereses because we have a tilde on the e, on the last e of interés. Therefore, we form the plural by adding es, intereses, and we remove the accent, of course, the stress. Another example, we have francés becomes franceses, and inglés becomes ingleses. So if it ends in s or x and it forms part of and the last syllable is stressed, then we add es, right? And we remove the accent, of course. Okay, a few more things before we leave. When we have a group comprising of more than one gender, which would be male and female, right? So even if we have a group and there's one male or one masculine noun, the group as a whole will be masculine. So if we have a group of students, okay, and there is one male and the majority, and obviously the rest are female, we still refer to them as los alumnos, the students, or los estudiantes, right? Los alumnos, because that is a rule that when we have mixed gender groups, or we have a group comprising both genders, we use the masculine form to refer to that group, right? It doesn't matter once there is a male. Once there is a male and a female within it, or I should rather say once there is a male, it is masculine, okay? This is why we would say alumnos and not alumnas. We only would say alumnas if the entire class comprised or was comprised of females, right? Now, those were some few details. Those were a few details that I wanted to mention before we close. So these are the 5 rules when it comes to pluralization. Oh, I forgot one more thing. There are some nouns that are always used in the plural. There is no singular form. Gafas, we don't say gafa. We always say gafas, which refer to glasses. Vacaciones, we always use vacaciones in the plural. We don't say vacación. Okay? So those are words that will always be used in the plural form, right? So yes, that is the one detail that I wanted to mention before we close. So 5 rules when it comes to pluralization, along with what I just said, right? Espero que les haya quedado claro. Muchas gracias por ver como siempre y hasta pronto.